Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the next playthrough for the channel. This, of course, being Kingdom Hearts, originally released for the PlayStation 2, but is now being played through the PlayStation 4 version due to the better graphics and additional content.
Hey, I see Tarzan there. What's that doing here along with Final Fantasy? I thought we were already doing a playthrough one of those games now.
And who is that kid with the flag? Is he Kingdom Hearts? I'm thinking Tarzan is meant to be like the Disney movie, but I don't know what that has to do with Final Fantasy either.
I'm familiar with Final Fantasy, of course, but I'll admit I haven't played Kingdom Hearts myself, so I'm happy to experience this for the first time.
Don't worry, guys. Jordan and I have played this game many times behind the scenes while filming Daily Wire content, so we'll explain what's going on soon enough.
For now, we're just going to let the full motion video scene happen uninterrupted, so if we get copyright striked and it becomes silent for a moment, that's why.
I've been having these weird thoughts lately. Like, is any of this for real or not?
Is that Tarzan? He's really looking different than I remember.
No, Joe, that is obviously not Tarzan, though I'm not exactly sure why Snow White and the Seven Dwarves are here, since that video didn't really explain what's happening.
Buckle up, everybody, since a lot of what we'll be talking about today is going to explain a lot of what's going on for both the presidents and viewers to understand what's happening. This is essentially the dive to the heart. For the purposes of this exact visit, it's just a tutorial where Sora, the kid right here, learns the controls and decides how he is going to level up amongst other things. For the first video, I'll be playing through, and then we'll have the presidents take turns as the series goes on so they all experience the game.
The game is being played on a PlayStation 5 controller, but it's really easy to tell which buttons will do what since they don't really change with each version. The left stick is to move like most games released ever. And now it's time for Ben to choose how Sora is going to go through the game, which won't change much by the end, but it matters a little more in the beginning. He has to choose something to prioritize and then also choose something he's going to focus less on as well.
I think I'll let each of us decide one aspect of how Sora will get through the game so everyone gets some say. I'll choose to prioritize the sword as fighting with the main weapon is going to be very important, and I think the optimal strategy.
I have to be honest, I've been thinking a lot about that Snow White person earlier, and I haven't been paying attention to anything else since then.
I certainly hope there's not a world based on Snow White in this game, otherwise Joe's never going to leave it.
You won't have to worry, Barack, there isn't. Anyway, I'm going to be choosing to get rid of the magic staff. We'll still have a lot of magic to use, so I don't think it's best to get rid of the shield in this case. I think we've decided well enough so far.
Well, that's good, and all but Joe Barack, and I haven't decided anything, and I don't see any other pedestals to choose from anymore.
We have definitely accounted for that. In a few minutes, we'll be asking you each a question which will determine Sora's leveling up, but for now, we're going to watch a little bit more and get a basic idea of what the combat looks like.
So is Sora dead or something? I don't think he can survive falling into nothingness, especially if the floor just falls apart on him for no reason.
No, I think I see something still there.
Okay, this one I'm sure is Tarzan. I remember the movie way better now.
No, Joe, this is Cinderella. Those stories are not similar, especially not the appearances of the main character. But regardless, there's some important fighting details here. You can use a weapon, for now it's a sword, to hit enemies, and you can do this both on and off ground. There's also health and magic, which we'll explain more later.
Without going into too much detail, the actual enemies of the game are called heartless. They just kind of appear out of nowhere and are often the prerequisite for advancing the game's story, though sometimes they are just there for the sake of fighting if you want to.
Whoa, these things look pretty weird. They're like one of those sleep paralysis demons I see every once in a while, but these are weirdly active.
Aside from just progressing with the story, the main reason to fight the heartless is to level up. Since you're all at least sort of familiar with the Final Fantasy series based on your playthroughs, you should know it works the same way, except this is more centered on real-time action as opposed to the turn-based system. The options on the bottom left correspond to the action that the X button does, and usually this will be on the attack slot, though you can use the D-pad to change what it does.
This is quite a lot for me. Do you honestly think I'm going to remember any of this?
We really doubt it, so that's why we'll try to explain what's going on more to the newcomers, as it's a bit more complicated than the other games we've played here.
Based on the silence there, I'm guessing we're going to be letting some of the cutscenes go for an extended period of time, like in the Metal Gear Solid playthrough.
I think that would be appropriate to be sure the story of the game comes across with only occasional interrupting from us. Plus, this game series has quite the reputation for being very difficult to understand. Granted, not as much with the first game, but it's still something that we should all be paying attention to.
Although this section about the boxes and barrels is largely unimportant, what does matter is the triangle button prompt will often come up in certain situations. What actually happens when you press it depends on the context, but it is important to look and see if there is something to examine when you're not sure what to do.
I don't like to agree with Joe, but I think I have to now. Even I am not really sure what to do with all this explaining. I'm really hoping the game eases us into playing it rather than all of the controls being given one after the other.
I'm guessing wherever we end up will let us test the controls ourselves, especially if we all get to play the game at some point.
Hey, did I fall asleep again? Where are we now?
We are in another place that we'll go over later, but for now this is the part all of you will impact when it comes to how Sora will develop through the game. You will each be asked a question and your answer determines the leveling up. We can start with Barack in this case.
I'll go over to Tidus and he will ask something so Barack you better think about it very carefully in a moment.
Okay, I've got this. Being different, I suppose let's do that.
Interesting. Now Joe will talk to Walker now.
I was born ready. I'm already strong and rare, so I picked the Horizons.
I wouldn't call you strong or rare, but anyway, Donald, you'll answer Selfie's question.
I'm picking friendships not because I mean it, but I think the game is going to penalize us if I pick a self-centered answer, even if it's better since everyone knows I am number one, of course.
Oh, really? I thought staying out of prison with your 34 guilty counts was the most important thing to you.
I knew this was inevitable. Brace yourselves, everyone. This is going to be a rough one.
Are you serious, Joe? Everybody knows it was rigged from the start.
Fake news.
You and your whole justice system rigged it against my favor. I
Fake
can't prove
news.
that you paid anybody in the court against me, but I'm sure it happened somehow.
Fake news.
And it's not like they even said what the crimes were.
Fake news.
You and all the Democrats ruined my goals of not being a felon this year, and everyone on the street tells me how rigged it was, believe me.
Oh, okay, are you going to say next that I rigged you not testifying? Or that I rigged you not paying attention when the crimes would have clearly been stated? Or that I rigged it so someone that only gets their news from Truth Social was on the jury? Or would you have said it was rigged if you won? I bet if by some miracle you didn't get all those guilty counts, you wouldn't have thanked me for rigging it in your favor, because you only cry that it's rigged when you didn't win, but it's legitimate if you won.
Fake news, old man. I knew you rigged it when you smirked at your press conference when you were asked about it. Everybody knows that not answering with words means you had something to do with it.
Yeah, okay, that must mean I was involved in your court appearance more than you were while you didn't say anything in your defense, but I guess that means I must not be a demented old idiot. If I somehow orchestrated the first time a former president has been convicted, right? I must be a genius if I really was behind that, but of course you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to claim I'm useless and sleepy and can't do anything, but when it comes to your trial, I'm a criminal mastermind who was able to set up everything in order to have you fail.
Guys, I don't think this is productive towards anyone right now.
I think we just have to let it run its course.
Everybody knows this just makes my fan base want me as president more. I've gotten so much money in donations that I definitely don't need, but also could use to campaign even harder against you.
Oh yeah, maybe they'll be the ones asking to find a few tens of thousands of votes to help you win instead of you directly calling about it. If they can't even handle me smirking in response to being asked a question, then I can only imagine the reaction they'd have when I start writing mean tweets about Coffee Afe and your fake orange tan.
My orange tan is not fake. I had so many people at the trial just tell me, Donald, your tan is so great. How did you get it? Even the jury members, even the judge wanted to know. And I said it's just natural, and somehow that didn't influence them to vote in my favor.
Hey, at least you finally got the popular vote, unlike in 2020 and in 2016 where you got less votes than Hillary and still won, and somehow you didn't complain about it being rigged since it was in your favor.
Okay, guys, I need to step in and get you all to focus on the game instead of arguing.
Before they start up again, I am curious, what exactly is this thing? It looks more dangerous than the other Heartless you mentioned.
This is what's called a Darkside. I'm not completely sure what it is either, but it's pretty slow and not as difficult as you'd think by looking at it. The easiest way to fight it is by hitting the hands, but if you can climb up and hit his head, you can get what's called tech points, which is another way of gaining experience by learning the enemy weaknesses or attack timing.
Oh, good to know. He looks pretty slow, so I don't think there's that big a chance that you'll lose to him. Still, it just makes the fact that he's showing up here more confusing, like where did he come from? How did he get here? Why is he here? I imagine a lot of these questions are not going to be answered, though.
We'll skip ahead now just since there's not much to this fight aside from what we've shown already.
That's probably for the best since it's a really simple fight, all things considered. We'll move on to more interesting things soon enough.
I'm assuming we'll be going back to the same type of cutscenes that make absolutely no sense right about now. What door? What does any of this even mean? I swear Joe must have been in charge of writing the script and fell asleep halfway through him explaining what it means so nobody knows what's going on.
Hey, this area looks a lot brighter. I think we're back at that beach section with those questions from earlier.
Whoa! Give me a break, Kyrie.
Sorry, you lazy bum. I knew that I'd find you snoozing down here.
No, this huge black thing swallowed me up.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm liking this playthrough way more ever since that Kyrie girl showed up.
Joe, I swear we are canceling this whole game series. If you act up around her, we are going to get canceled so quickly.
Okay, I'll try to calm down, but no promises.
So bizarre.
Yeah, Yeah, sure.
Say, Kyrie, what was your hometown like? You know, where you grew up?
I've told you before. I don't remember.
Nothing at all?
Nothing.
You ever want to go back?
Well, I'm happy here.
Really?
But you know, I wouldn't mind going to see it.
I'd like to see it too. Along with any other worlds out there.
Wait a minute, did all that fighting Heartless and Darkside even happen if he was just dreaming on a beach? This is not helping the game make any more sense.
I don't really know, but I think we need to focus on this other guy here for now.
I guess I'm the only one working on the raft.
Ah.
And you're just as lazy as he is.
So you know this. Okay, we'll finish it together. I'll race you.
Huh?
What? Are you kidding?
Ready? Go!
Who is this kid in the yellow now?
That would be Riku, and these three all are a trio of original characters new to the series.
And speaking of that, welcome to US Presidents Play Kingdom Hearts Final Mix.
I'm excited to start, but I think we should ask, where are we exactly?
That's easy, Barack. We're in Destiny Islands.
Hey, did you guys hear some weird sound a moment ago? I know the music was going on, but I heard something else happen at the same time.
No, I didn't hear anything unusual on my end.
Oh, sorry, I was still thinking about Kyrie. I wasn't really paying attention to anything else.
I'm going to act like I didn't hear you say that, but I don't know, maybe it was just me.
All right, guys, enough with Barack hearing imaginary sounds. It's time to get back to the game. In order to progress through the island, we have to collect items that will go towards a raft that is supposed to be used to get off this island. In the meantime, we'll also be talking with the characters around to get used to fighting differently than the Heartless.
Oh yeah, I actually recognize those people. Even though I haven't played this game before, I saw there were younger versions of Selphie from Final Fantasy VIII along with Tidus and Walk from Final Fantasy X. I know this place doesn't exist in the Final Fantasy games, so I imagine these versions of the characters have different backstories.
Do we have to be aware of different versions of characters? I'm having a hard time with the new characters as is.
If all goes as planned, I really hope not.
Wouldn't you know if you've already played the game before?
I'm sure he means it will be fine. You don't have to be aware of the Final Fantasy character backstories. Besides, these ones aren't important to the main story anyway.
Back to the game itself, this is the first of the optional battles that can be done, this one being Tidus. He has his sword, and if you're able to counter him, that will definitely help you. We won't show the entire fights as the beeping low health sound can be a bit annoying and they're pretty standard.
Wait, what beeping do you mean?
The one that happens right about now when the health is nearly gone. It's a bit much at times.
Well, thank you for considering our ears during the playthrough. I suppose you could have muted it too at that rate, but we'll take what we can get.
You almost died there. Or maybe you would have only been knocked out, as I really hope they wouldn't kill the main character if he lost in one fight against whoever Tidus is.
You're right, Sora would have just lost the fight, but wouldn't have went back to the title screen or anything like that. There's still a few more fights left to try and some more items to collect before we get the raft made, so we'll be doing those.
Hold up a moment, did Sora just pass by 3 perfectly functional boats? Why don't they just use those if they want to get off the island so badly? I'm sure they can find a way to fit, even if it's all 6 going, so I don't get why they can't just use them instead of making a raft that's probably a lot less durable overall. Does everyone here just act like they need a raft specifically?
Honestly, I have no clue why they can't use the boats. It's really strange how nobody acknowledges them, and although I don't think it lessens the fun of this area, it is unusual regardless.
Hey guys, ever since this Selphie girl came by here, I'm starting to think about Kyrie a little bit less and thinking of her a little more, if you know what I mean.
Joe, we do not want to know what you mean, and our lives would all be better if you did not express any thoughts about them at any point. If we ever get around to Final Fantasy VIII, this is going to be a constant problem as she's there, probably much more than she is here.
How is it that Joe and all of his failings and strange thoughts somehow managed to rig the court against me? I can't let that go as it's such clear targeting and politically motivated against me.
Oh great, here we go again.
Oh yeah, I sure did that, and I also forced you to make hush money payments too, right?
Fake
did I rig
news.
that, or did you do it of your own volition?
Fake
I bet you were
news.
waiting for a hung jury and would be able to get away with it, but
Fake
considering
news.
Stormy's description of you, it would have been the only thing hung.
Fake news. You and everybody knows I should be innocent, and although I can't actually prove it in court, I know it was the case, you better believe it.
Okay, guys, you two really don't need to keep arguing about this. You can hash things out on Twitter or X or Truth Social or the debate stage or whatever you decide, but we're playing a game about bringing people together, and all the fighting about the court that Donald lost isn't going to help anything. We can't go through this whole playthrough with it happening every time we get together to play games. Somehow I doubt this is going to stop either of you from mentioning it, but I would hope you'll at least tone it down a bit.
Yeah, I can't make any promises, but I'll at least attempt not to bring it up all that much. I know things between him and I are strained due to the election and everything, so this isn't really making it better. Besides, I'm sure I'll submit an appeal and see what I can do there.
Hey, this Riku kid looks a lot more difficult than the other Final Fantasy characters you were fighting earlier. I'm hoping this isn't a required fight, as I don't think you're going to win at this rate.
No Baraka is not required, and I'm glad it's not, as it is the most difficult by quite a lot. It does demonstrate that there are more complex fights in the game than just the standard Heartless like earlier, but we will be way better equipped to fight more efficiently.
But we don't need to worry about that for quite a while. For now, we can go talk to Kyrie and give her the Raft requirements for this section.
We'll also be getting some time to actually hear the characters talk instead to each other, since they haven't done a lot of that so far, besides telling Sora to get items while they just stand around.
So, Kyrie's home is out there somewhere, right?
Could be. We'll never know by staying here.
But how far could a raft take us?
Who knows? If we have to, we'll think of something else.
So, suppose you get to another world. What would you do there?
I would look and see if they have any new flavors of popsicles or ice cream. You all know how much I like popsicles and ice cream.
Yes, Joe, I had to hear about it every day for 8 years straight. Along with these playthroughs we've been doing, we got the idea.
If there are any other worlds out there, why did we end up on this one? And suppose there are other worlds. Then ours is just a little piece of something much greater. So, we could have just as easily ended up somewhere else, right?
I don't know.
Exactly. That's why we need
That's interesting to think about. Perhaps some people are meant to meet each other in some cosmic kind of way, but I'm not really sure. Like maybe there's other Joes, Donalds, and Baraks who had different backgrounds but still get together like we do.
Interesting theory, Barak. Perhaps you're right, but I don't think we need to consider that too much. All that matters is we're playing the game together now, I suppose.
If you hadn't come here, I probably would have never thought of any of this. Kyrie, thanks.
You're welcome.
Sora! You wanted one, didn't you?
A Palpu fruit?
If two people share one, their destinies become intertwined.
Ooh, is that a new type of popsicle or something? I haven't seen that one before.
Obviously not, Joe. This environment is clearly not one where popsicles can naturally be kept without thawing very quickly. Anyway, this is a fruit that allegedly intertwines fates, but that's not backed up by science, so it's probably wrong.
If Barak is correct in his idea about people being destined to interact, then perhaps there may be some validity to it, but maybe not. I'm sure it's not something that can be studied or scientifically examined at all.
That would be pretty interesting.
Okay, wait a minute. Is this supposed to be Disney Castle? I didn't know the game was that serious about the Disney crossover part to this.
Hey, this opening door scene reminds me a lot about Frozen when Anna tried to open the door to Elsa but couldn't, so she started singing about snowmen. Do we get to go to Arendelle in this game?
No, Joe, this game was released back on the PlayStation 2, and that was many years before Frozen came out, so we are not going there now.
It always confuses me how these Disney characters are mostly made up of anthropomorphic animals, whereas there are some that are also animals but are owned as pets like in the real world. It makes me wonder how the hierarchy of who does and doesn't get to be considered a pet works within the Disney franchise. It seems to be very restricting for those who are unable to talk, being considered lesser in their society.
This is serious.
So Donald Duck can just casually shoot lightning in this world. Can he just always do that suddenly, or did I miss some really old cartoon where he learned it?
There isn't really any explanation on how, but yes, he can just do that here.
Queen Minnie?
Daddy was a queen.
Daisy?
No! It's top secret.
Oh, good morning, ladies.
What?
All right, there's not much time left for today, so we're going to have Donald play next time. The former president, not the duck.
I'm excited to start soon. This should be fun.
I don't know what's in store for us, but I'm thinking it will be a great time to explore what this game has to offer.
We hope everyone will enjoy. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as always.
And peace out, people.